Hello and welcome to the Business of Hearing podcast, a podcast where we discuss the business of hearing, all the factors that go into making your hearing clinic a best-in-class organization. Let me introduce you to my co-host, Mr. Oli Luke. Oli, who is this podcast for?
Hey, Phil. Well, one thing I've identified in this industry is that there's typically two groups of people. There's the people that are happy with where they're at and resist change. And there's the people that know things are being rocked and are ready for the fight. And this podcast is very much for them, the ambitious, high-performing hearing care clinics that want to push for growth, are conscious of the challenges that are happening and the changes, and are ready to fight their way through. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to cover a bunch of topics, and most importantly, we're going to touch upon some things that the people that value will love. So give me your thoughts on why this has been set up.
Well, I think we're always conditioned, or we are certainly impressioned by the conversations that we have, the people that we hang around with, right? It's often been said that your success is in direct correlation to the 5 people that you spend the most time with. And when you're running a hearing care clinic, quite often the conversations that you have are with your patients, and a few of your other providers. Filling your mind up with great information from perhaps even outside the industry, as well as best-in-class information from inside the industry, is going to mean that you've got just one more voice talking into your world that perhaps can give you an edge over your competition. The industry, since I've been involved in it, has largely been under-supported from an entrepreneurial journey point of view, from a how do I stand out from competition. Add to that fact that competition from the outside, from big box retailers, from online retailers, from discount retailers, etc., plus things like managed care, etc., have eroded the profitability for most independent hearing care clinics. We wanted to provide a voice of opportunity, a voice of hope, something that said, okay, the future could be better than the past, and to provide you with a roadmap, skills, application, and best practice from people who are doing this right now that could start to get you onto the journey to doing better in your hearing care business. And why did I decide to be able to do this with you, Oli? I should probably tell some people about who you are and why your value brings so much to the table. Is for those of you that don't know Oli Luke is one of the most prolific and established copywriters, digital marketers that's been helping expert brands to really stand out in very crowded marketplaces since he started. I think Oli was born with a keyboard in his hands and is the kind of person that always focuses on how do you get better at marketing. He's grown up with modern marketing, understanding how websites convert, what can be done to write persuasive copy, the importance of autoresponders, how email is a critical tool for communication in managing databases, plus learning that whole piece about social media. So Oli is a marketing genius from outside the industry that I've introduced to this industry that now creates a 2 + 2 = 5. So you'll see for yourself some of the brilliance that Oli can bring to you over the coming episodes. So no pressure, buddy. Please, please, please don't disappoint.
And I should probably introduce you. So I think our journeys, I think we first met each other, it must be several years ago. And at the time you was doing a lot of training, and it's been a pleasure to work alongside you and watch as you've written best-selling books, sold millions of copies of the book, and worked with some of the largest brands on the planet to build out sales programs to help Salesforce. And most importantly, what I find interesting is in a world where sales is the dirty word and the leaders somewhat in the sales world are douchebags, you've come with a huge amount of authenticity and help put being genuine and doing the right thing for the other person as the priority over all like the dirty tactics that everybody else uses. So it's been a bunch of fun. And when you first introduced me to the hearing care industry in 2017, I was firstly baffled by this industry. Like, these people are selling something that nobody wants for significantly more than anybody wants to pay. This is like a crazy industry and a huge challenge. And then just how outdated a lot of the industry was in terms of the marketing things they did. It was crazy lazy. So yeah, I don't know if I've introduced you well at all there. I just started talking about myself all of a sudden. But anybody who doesn't know Phil, a Google search will give you far more content and information. that will keep you busy for weeks upon end. But I suppose one thing that we've done especially is look at this industry and see that it's very incestuous. The strategies that people use, the pricing that people follow, the marketing that people use, all is within this bubble that we all live in. And one thing we've done is look very much outside the industry and take lessons of things that have worked from our past and from other industries, and look at how we can apply the methodology directly to this industry. And one of them examples that I think would be good to share is the way we've looked to apply subscriptions and membership-based principles to the way that the hearing care industry can charge. So let me know your thoughts on that one.
Sure. And I've been looking at the hearing care industry from a business consultation point of view, from a sales growth point of view since 2012. And one of the big things that's always baffled me is that you have a great month this month, but typically it then means that you start next month again with zero, right? There's no inherent base revenue. There's no ability for you to be able to have predictability to pay things like staff overheads, rent rates, etc. And that to me means that you have a commission-only sales operation as opposed to a genuine business that gives you some predictability and growth. Something we've seen huge success through dozens of other industries is the ability to create recurring revenue on a month-by-month basis. The fact that you can have people subscribe to services. And we live in a world right now where this is the norm, right? Netflix collects a monthly subscription for many of you, whether it's your gym membership collecting a monthly subscription from you, even the fact that you pay annual subscriptions to things like Amazon Prime and you forget the fact that you are actually paying those numbers, are ways that businesses have predictable cash flow. So we've taken this idea of memberships and subscriptions into many of our inner circle members and helped them realize ways in which they can create predictable revenue. We've done it with membership programs around ongoing service attached to hearing devices. We've put membership programs in place that have allowed people to have service offerings on the back of somebody coming to the end of a warranty period. And we've looked at a variety of different ways that we can create predictable revenue within hearing care space. So that's just one tiny example that comes from the outside of the hearing care space that would encourage people to be able to bring into their practice so they have more predictable future revenue streams. But it's more than that, right? We've helped people change the way they sell in a number of circumstances, taking things like ideas from the professional coaching and training business and say, how does that relate towards hearing care? And Oli, I know that was a giant part of your past experience of helping personal brands win opportunities to then become high-ticket coaching clients. What lessons have you taken from there that we can bring towards the hearing care space?
Yeah, and that's an interesting one because so the general journey is you generate a lead, you build up trust with them, you let them know that you have a solution to a problem, and then you schedule them for a consultation or some form of session where it's a call for 60 to 90 minutes, and then you can introduce how you can help and potentially have a solution between $5,000 to $10,000. It sounds familiar, doesn't it? So it was looking at how we can take the principles of all the unique things we did from that industry and how that can translate to the hearing care industry. And one thing that we found worked really well a handful of years ago was the biggest sticking point was the people that said, I've got a need for this, let's schedule a consultation. And then either didn't turn up for the consultation or turned up without the ability to make a buying decision. And one thing we used to do is prior to that consultation, we used to send them some stuff in the mail or via email that did all the pre-selling. So it shared success stories of other clients that we'd worked with, or it shared the FAQs that somebody could have in their position, or it shared the pricing information so they know what they're stepping into. And we've done that in the hearing care industry with a few of our members, and it's been interesting. So very much looking at what can we send to patients prior to their first appointment to make that as seamless as possible. From a, here's how you get here, here's the map, here's what you can expect, here's the face of who you're going to meet when you walk through the door, and here's what's going to happen. Here's the frequently asked questions about somebody who hasn't had a hearing assessment. And by compiling all this together, giving it to a patient prior to that first appointment, it's worked incredibly well at minimizing the no-show rate and ensuring that when people do turn up, they're much further down the decision-making process because many of their objections or fears have already been addressed, which means that the conversation is far more advanced than it otherwise would be. That's worked incredibly well, and it's a case of once again, looking outside the industry, here's something that works for a completely different marketplace that can be applied very well to this industry.
It's such an important point there as well, because success does leave clues, right? Everything is insular within this industry right now. Everybody's looking at each other for clues. Yet what's happened is that other industries have accelerated at a rate that is beyond the rate of hearing care, which now creates a fortunate position in the world of hearing care, because you can, look out to what other industries have done, follow their success paths, and say, how do I apply that with a few small pivots and avoid many of the same mistakes, right? Would that be fair to say, Oli?
Yeah, completely. And when you look out at other industries, there's some that just stand out that have a very similar model. We sell something for a significant amount of money, we deliver a promise, and then we're looking for somebody to make a repurchase, 3 years, 5 years down the line. One specific industry that stands out on that is the motor industry, of people buying cars. And I know you have a lot of experience working with Volkswagen and other key brands. Share the lesson that you took from them that's worked incredibly well for this industry.
Yeah, and there are lessons everywhere, right? Through this show, we're going to come up with some deep dives on not just these 3 little examples that we share up right now, but dozens of other examples that can be applied towards your hearing care clinic, things that you can put into practice right now. And I know these are only high level. We're giving you a taster of what you can expect from the Business of Hearing podcast. But the example Oli's asking me to unpack here is a lesson that I learned when working with one of the largest car brands in the world in their business in Australia. And what happened is that their goal was to look to be able to increase the rate of upgrade, right? Somebody buys a motor car, has it on a lease or a hire purchase agreement, and then steps into a new one at some point in time in the future. And they wanted that rate to be somewhere in the 3 to 5 year window, but was actually finding that the majority of people were keeping their cars far longer than that, more like 7, 8, 9 years. Interesting, right? Isn't that same thing true in the hearing care space, right? We want people to upgrade every 3 to 5 years, yet in reality, people keep the devices for 7 years and longer. What did we do to fix that in the automotive space? Well, interestingly enough, we extended their warranty period. Doesn't that sound counterintuitive? We started to provide 5-year warranties alongside cars. What then happened is that people would keep their vehicle for up to 5 years, knowing at the end of that warranty period, it was time to be able to change it. What would happen previously when there was a 3-year warranty in place is that people would get to the end of that 3-year period of time, come out of warranty, then invest a load of money in that car into some significant level of repairs, and they would feel greater levels of ownership to that car that meant they had to keep it for a longer period of time. We've started to see now that if we can extend warranty periods, extend service periods for customers within the hearing care industry to that 5-year window, we do 2 things. One is we create a unique point of difference at the front end that says, here's a reason to choose us and nobody other than us, because what we have is a value position that's unique. And when a patient wants hearing devices to last forever, what they really mean is 5 years. What's interesting, though, is if you give them a 5-year service plan with a 5-year warranty with 5 years worth of all-inclusive everything, and then you provide a reason for them to upgrade within that 3 to 5 year window, guess what happens? You shorten the upgrade cycle. You have your patients wearing more modern technology on an ongoing basis. And you do it all with the absolute integrity of over-delivering on your promise, as opposed to the alternative of offering them a 3-year warranty, then telling them it's out of warranty, then trying to charge them for repairs, telling them that now is a good time to upgrade, even though you told them at the front end that you'd offer them a lifetime in aftercare, creating a confusing promise. Instead, we create a clean promise that gives people the understanding that at some point within 5 years, they might be asked to buy again. And everywhere we've implemented this, we're starting to see it work on both those levels. People choosing at the front end and people feeling more comfortable about the point in time in which they're going to upgrade into something new. So 3 tiny examples, right? What did we share? We shared something from like subscriptions and thinking about how do you create a base level revenue, something about lessons from the coaching industry from a pre-selling point of view, so people show up to appointments with a greater level of shaped education. And we shared this 3rd thing about how you can use warranties and extended services to actually allow you to be able to get more business in the front end. Micro lessons in this intro episode of the Business of Hearing podcast. Oli, what else can people expect moving on from here when we get to the real part of the show?
Yeah, and if it's just me and you talking, I think it's going to get a little bit boring, Phil. We're not that interested. And I think the big lessons here are going to come from real people in the industry that are applying these things and learning the real lessons on the ground. So the next episode, episode 2, I have the pleasure of interviewing one of our members and a phenomenal business owner out in Lubbock, Texas, to learn some of the key lessons between how she's built a VIP patient experience and how she's launched a local program that's allowing her to walk in to local businesses, screen the employees, and create a new route to market that nobody else is doing. And then another type of episode, going back to how incestuous this industry is, and the advice often comes from within. What we've done is we've had the pleasure of interviewing some real experts on a variety of topics and asking how we can apply their strategies that they teach from stage or they've written books about directly to this industry. So we've brought them in, we're interviewing them, and we're very much grilling them on, okay, that's great, but how does it work for us? Which is going to be a bunch of fun. So in terms of expectation, we're aiming for a weekly podcast, something new hitting you every single week. And of course, the more positive feedback we get, the more appetite we have for that. But I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and the lineup of external experts is first class, right? Both from the practitioners in this industry that are operating at a high level. And what we've learned about anybody who operates on the high road is there's plenty of oxygen up there, right? These aren't people that are trying to keep their secrets close to their chest because they have a scarcity mindset. They're open books, sharing the things that are working and how other people can do the same. And what we have as a belief and a principle is that rising tide lifts all boats. And the goal is to say, how do we raise the game in the hearing care profession as a whole, particularly the independent private practice part of those things. So those internal experts, I think, are going to be really, really valuable. I've seen the lineup of some of the first episodes. I know that's going to be killer. And then I've reached into my friend group of really successful authors, really successful speakers, people who are at the very top of their game. And we've got people like Alan Stein, Melanie Diesel, Scott McCain, and plenty more that are going to share their wisdom on things like customer experience, things like how you can lead more effectively, taking lessons from the world of sport, things like how content marketing can really play a major part in your success of standing out from competition. So I'm pumped, I'm excited, looking forward to your comments, looking forward to hearing what you like about our Business of Hearing podcast to give us the energy and impetus to be able to say, let's spend more time investing in the things that go into your ears so that you can do a better job of putting more hearing devices into the ears of people that need it. That's it.
You're waiting for me. We'll cut this bit.
I think that cuts, right? That could work.
Yeah, I think that's it. Sweet. I have no idea.